Hi, I'm Scarlet Android. Recently I played my first game of Two Spies during Season 5, which you can watch here. I played against a top-secret agent named Murky Cactus, and spoilers, I won 3-1 to put my record to 1-0 for the season. Most players would retire right now with a perfect record, but I am no ordinary player. I am determined to get the top rank in Two Spies, 00, and to do that, I need to play my first 5 games of the season. Last game was against Murky Cactus, a serviceable top-secret agent, but not too much of a challenge. But this game looks to be a bit tougher. Me and Wary Stallion have been rivals since Season 1 of Two Spies. We've been two of the best spies since the beginning and have faced hundreds of times over the years. Outside of the game, we're friends and talk in the Two Spies Discord, but during the game, we are fierce enemies. Wary Stallion has already played his first 5 games of the season and has already earned the prize 00 rank. If I want to earn the best rank in the game, then I need to beat one of the best spies in the game. The way to win a game of Two Spies is to move to the same city as your opponent and strike, but usually in the game you don't know where they are. To find them, you need to control cities. Controlling cities makes it dangerous for your opponent to move into your cities and generates more intel per turn for you. Intel is how you unlock special actions and abilities that make it easier to find and strike your opponent. Bonus cities in bold text are worth more intel per turn, which makes them even more valuable. For more information about the game itself, watch the Two Spies tutorial in the upper right. Otherwise, everything will be explained as we go. Wary Stallion gets to go first on the map Bifocal. They move twice, and I figure they're in one of 3 cities: Warsaw, Geneva, or Berlin. Geneva and Warsaw are both bonus cities, while Berlin connects the two, making Berlin incredibly valuable. They're most likely in Geneva because there's no chance of being struck, so I decided to move to Stockholm. This allows me to strike Berlin next turn while still having access to Warsaw. Wary Stallion controls Geneva and moves, but I don't think they move to Berlin. Theoretically, I could be in Berlin, so it would be risky to move. Instead, I decide to fake strike. I'm hoping this makes it look like I was in Warsaw or Stockholm and struck Berlin, so now Wary Stallion moves and strikes, and then I strike Berlin for the win. Instead, they buy strike reports. This means that if I strike, they'll know exactly where I am, so I need to be careful. During my turn, intel spawns in Warsaw, which means Wary Stallion can't be there. Intel can't spawn in a city that a player is in. It's very risky to move to Warsaw because it's obvious and Wary Stallion has strike reports and can easily strike, but I need a bonus city if I want to win this map. So I control Stockholm and move to Warsaw. Wary Stallion strikes and I lost round 1. I hoped they would fake strike and I'd be able to control, but they called my bluff and struck me for the win. Games of Two Spies are played best of 5 rounds, so I'm not happy that I lost, but I still have time to come back. I get to go first during round 2 on the map St. Peter's Cross. Berlin, Warsaw, Geneva, and Vienna are all bonus cities and are connected in the center of the map. I move to Geneva to grab some intel, and then intel spawns in Vienna. This tells Wary Stallion that I'm not in Vienna, so when he moves twice, it's very tempting to move and strike. However, they easily could have just stayed in Belgrade, waiting for me to strike and could get me next turn. Instead, I strike Berlin to see if they're in Vienna, and they are. They control Vienna and move, and intel spawns in Warsaw. I control Berlin, but I'm worried they might strike Warsaw next turn, so I decide to wait. Instead, they buy strike reports and move, and now I'm in the same situation as last round. However, now I have the intel to buy strike reports for myself, and I move to Warsaw. I'm not worried about them being in Warsaw right now, because last turn I could have moved to Warsaw, so they would be too scared to move to Warsaw this turn. They locate and move, but instead of controlling Warsaw, I buy Rapid Recon. Rapid Recon blows my opponent's cover if I move to the same city as them and is incredibly valuable in the early game. I move back to Berlin in case they move and strike, and then they control Geneva. I move to Geneva to see if they're still there, but they're not, so I retreat back to Berlin. I'm playing very cautiously around Warsaw because they can easily strike when I'm not expecting it. Wary Stallion buys encryption, and I check how much intel I have. I check on Geneva again, and then move to Warsaw. Because they bought encryption and they haven't been in Geneva, I believe I have them trapped somewhere by Amsterdam, Paris, Brussels, or Monaco, or possibly in Belgrade. They buy an action, but because they bought encryption earlier, I don't know what it is. In this situation, they likely either go deep, which makes them safe from Rapid Recon and lets them go in my cities, or prepped, which will give them an extra action during their next turn, allowing them to locate, move, and strike. I'm most worried that they went deep into Berlin and will try to control during the next turn, or that they prepped, so I decided to go deep into Berlin to ensure my safety and to defend my city. Because I went deep, Wary Stallion thinks I'm in their city, so they strike Geneva and then move. During my turn, an action spawns in Vienna, and usually I would go deep and get a third action next turn, but deep cover costs 20 intel and I only have 18. I don't think they waited in Geneva when I have Rapid Recon, so I just check Warsaw and wait. They spend an intel on an operation and move, and then it's my turn. I don't think they were in Geneva last turn, and they see the action space in Vienna and want to defend it, so they most likely either went deep in Geneva to be safe, or prepped in Geneva to try to strike Vienna next turn, more likely prepping. I decide to move to Geneva to check if they're prepping, and they get caught. They figured I would go deep into Vienna to get the action, and try to defend it by prepping, but I read them like a book and won round 2. Notice how fast I moved as well. As my turn started, I immediately thought they were in Geneva, hesitated a little to think, then moved anyway and got the win. Now the score is tied 1-1, and Wary Stallion gets to go first on the map, East Wings. They move twice, and they're in Berlin. Berlin is the most important city on this map, and I can't strike Berlin from this position, so there's a 99% chance Wary Stallion moved to Berlin. I decide to wait in Venice because he could strike Vienna and could theoretically be in Brussels and Geneva, even if he likely isn't. They control Berlin and move, and they're likely in Berlin, Amsterdam, or Stockholm because I can't be in any of those cities. Even though I haven't moved, Wary Stallion doesn't know that. They think I can be in Brussels right now, so I decide to fake strike and stay in Venice, with the plan being that they strike Amsterdam next turn, then I move to Vienna to control a bonus city. And then Intel spawns in Vienna. They're not in Amsterdam because the intel is still sitting there, and they figure that I'm messing around striking in London, Brussels, or Amsterdam, so when they buy striker ports and move, I think they're in Vienna. They also could have waited in Berlin to try to catch me if I strike, but the odds of me being near Vienna are so low that I think they just moved. So I move to Vienna and strike, and win. If I had missed this strike, I would have definitely lost round 3, but bizarre movement, or a lack of movement during the round, and being willing to take risks got me the win. Now I'm up 2-1 in the score and just need one more round to win my second game of the season and my first against a 0-0. Round 4 begins with a Wary Stallion moving twice on the map, roundabout. Berlin, Geneva, and London are all bonus cities on this map, but Berlin, Geneva, and Venice are the most important cities. London is far away from the other 2 bonus cities and generally gets surrounded if you don't control Berlin or Geneva. I decide to move to Amsterdam, thinking that they are in Geneva or Venice, and will retreat to Berlin next turn, allowing me to strike. Instead, they control Berlin and move, and I'm a little trapped. I strike London to make it look like I'm near Geneva so I can rotate around, but then they control Geneva. It would have been incredibly risky for me to move to Geneva at the beginning where they could have been, and Wary Stallion knew this, so they moved to Geneva, which is very bad for me. Now I'm trapped on an island, so I control London to earn some intel and travel down to Paris. They buy encryption and move, so I strike Monaco. I don't really think they're in Monaco. I think they're in Venice, but with such good territory, I don't think they'll take the chance to strike Monaco next turn. I miss, which was expected, but they control Venice, and I earn 20 intel for my troubles. I control and wait, and when they spend intel on an operation, I think they've prepped and are trying to find me in Paris or Monaco. I could go deep, but they'd be able to defend their cities, and it would cost 20 intel. Instead, I move back to London, where I think I'm safe and can earn 10 intel. They spent intel on an operation, and now this is weird. They could be deep in my cities, or prepping in theirs, or they could have just bought striker ports. I have no way of knowing. An action space spawns next to me, but I think it's super risky to move to it. Instead, I go deep in Paris, with the idea being that they get distracted with the action space, which allows me to go deep in Geneva and control. They buy an operation, but now I think they've expected this. Instead, I go deep and fake moving to Geneva. Usually they would strike Geneva if they were there or if they prepped, then would retreat and I could go deep next turn. They strike somewhere, knowing I don't have striker ports, and intel spawns in Geneva anyway, basically telling me to move to Geneva. So I go deep and move to Geneva. They end up being in Vienna, and oh no, they're coming. Someone stop them, stop them! Whew, that was close. They know I don't have striker ports, but think that I'm either on the prep space in Amsterdam, waiting in Paris, or was deep in Venice. Looking back at the game, I definitely should have struck Venice, because it doesn't make sense they would be anywhere else, but I was just happy to be alive, so I controlled and moved back to Paris. I go back to Paris because I'm worried that they have rapid recon and can kill me if I stay in Geneva or Monaco. They spent intel on an operation, and they likely either went deep into Geneva or prepped to try to get it next turn. Wary Stallion isn't very happy I took their city. Usually I would go deep in Monaco in this situation because there's a good chance they strike Geneva, because going deep into Geneva to defend is obvious, and they usually strike. But the 20 intel in Monaco actually makes me feel safer in Geneva because it is such an obvious move. I'm really banking on them controlling right here, and they think for a bit. And they don't murder me in Switzerland, which is good, because I don't want to be murdered in Switzerland. My instincts tell me to strike Berlin, but because of the intel spawning in Monaco, they would be safe moving back to Venice, so striking Berlin would just be a 50-50, and I'm not doing that. I control and wait in Geneva, risking a loss to Rapid Recon, but I don't think they've bought Rapid Recon. If they go deep in Geneva, I could get an unexpected strike. It's risky, but it could win me the game. And when they spend intel on an operation, and then an action spawns in Monaco, I strike for the easy win. Okay, so they're not in Geneva, but I still have a good shot of winning. That action space actually gives me some safety, because if they prepped, they'll most likely focus on that instead of controlling Geneva. And with that being said, oh no, this is very bad, all they need to do is locate, and I've lost the round, oh no. They control Monaco, and the action space, and now I'm in a pickle. They don't think I'm in Geneva right now, and if I was in Paris, I would most likely strike Monaco and the extra action, so I think they retreated to Venice to be safe. I move to Venice and strike, and you can't win every round, but I would have loved for that to be it. Would have been a great ending to the video, but Wary Stallion played bold and got the win, much to my dismay. Now it's tied 2-2, as it usually is when we play. Two Spies powerhouses with one round to decide who's better this time. Exactly how it should be. Round 5 begins, and I get to go first on the map, Bridges. Bridges has 4 bonus cities in the center that form some sort of curvy quadrilateral. One of the common strategies on this map is for me to bum rush Geneva. If I move to Geneva, then if Wary Stallion moves to Berlin, there's no risk of me being struck, and I can get an easy win for round 5. However, the obvious counter to this strategy is for Wary Stallion to strike Geneva right at the beginning. I don't want to risk round 5 on the first turn, so instead I move to Monaco. Monaco allows me to strike Geneva if they strike, and is also a common place for them to move at the beginning. Instead of striking though, they move twice. They can't be in Monaco and aren't in Geneva because it would be obvious for me to move there, so they either move to Berlin, which I don't think is very likely because it's risky, they move to Venice, which is also very risky, or they're chilling up in Paris or Brussels. I could strike Paris, but if they are in Berlin or Venice, then they control and start gaining bonus cities while I'm sitting far away in a bad position. Instead, I decide to strike Venice, hoping for a lucky strike, but just trying to reset and control some bonus cities. This also makes it look like I moved to Vienna initially, and then struck Berlin, which is good because they don't know where I am. I miss, but I'm safe for the next turn. And when Wary Stallion moves twice, that means that they were probably trapped in Paris and Brussels, and oh! I strike for the win. Wary Stallion was trapped in Paris, and when I struck, they figured that I either struck Berlin or struck Geneva. If they tried to strike Geneva and I was in Berlin, it would be very obvious where they are, and I would just strike for the win. Instead, they tried to grab the bonus city farthest away from Berlin to set up their territory, but unfortunately for them, my opening and mind games led me to Venice, where I got the win. And that brings me to 2 wins on the season. A GG with an exclamation point to Wary Stallion for a great game, round 4 especially. That was one of the best rounds I can remember, and I'm so glad I recorded it. If you are interested in the game or would like to chat with me or Wary Stallion, come join the 2 Spies Discord. We have 800 of the greatest spies in all of 1960s Europe, and we'd love to talk some 2 Spies with you. We also hold tournaments and play matches, so if any of that sounds fun, click the link in the description to join. And if you'd like more 2 Spies content, consider subscribing. I recently made a video on my first 2 Spies match of the season, and just finished the 2 Spies tutorial, which is a project I've been working on for almost a year. I'll have my other 3 placement matches of the season, some Discord tournament matches, and other guides uploaded in the future. So if those sound interesting, subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you for watching, and strike on, Spies.